My name is Adam, and there was a time when I truly believed my life was perfectly secure, almost untouchable. I had everything I once dreamed of. A comfortable house, a successful business, and a reputation that made people respect me. From the outside, my life looked complete, stable, even perfect. I used to believe that once you reach a certain level of success, nothing can really shake your world. But life has its own plans, and sometimes it teaches you lessons in the hardest ways. About 10 years ago, I owned a small logistics company in the city. It wasn't a massive corporation, but it was successful enough to give my family a good life. Every morning, I woke up early, made myself a cup of coffee, and stood quietly by the window watching the busy street below. Cars moving fast, people rushing to work. The sound of the city felt alive. Back then, those sounds felt like music to me. They reminded me that I was part of something important, something bigger than myself. My wife, Sarah, often told me I worked too much. She was calm, kind, and always thinking about our family before anything else. Sometimes in the evening, she would sit next to me and say softly, "Adam, success is good, but time with family is more important." I always smiled and told her things would slow down soon, but deep down, I knew I didn't want them to. I enjoyed being busy. I loved the feeling of control, the feeling that I was building something meaningful. Our daughter Maya was only 8 years old at the time. She had a beautiful imagination. She loved drawing colorful pictures and telling long stories about magical worlds and friendly animals. Sometimes she would run into my office holding a drawing and say excitedly, "Daddy, look what I made." I would smile quickly, say something nice, and then go back to my work. At that time, I truly believed that was enough. I thought giving her a comfortable life was the greatest thing I could do as a father. Years passed, and my company continued to grow. What started as a small delivery service became a network of trucks and warehouses. I had around 20 employees, and many of them depended on me. I felt responsible not only for my family, but for theirs too. Every new contract felt like a victory. Every successful month made me more confident. I truly believed I was building something that would last forever. But success can hide problems, quietly, slowly, until one day they become impossible to ignore. At first, the warning signs were small. One of our biggest clients delayed a payment. I didn't think much of it. These things happen in business. Then another client asked for lower prices. They said costs were rising, and they needed cheaper services. I told myself it was temporary, just a small storm. But the storms didn't stop. Expenses started rising. Fuel prices increased. Maintenance costs became higher. At the same time, new competitors entered the market offering cheaper and faster services. Slowly, the numbers started changing. One evening, I stayed alone in my office long after everyone had left. The building was completely silent. I opened my laptop and reviewed the financial reports again and again. The truth was clear. If things continued like this, my company would be in serious trouble within a year. For the first time since I started the business, I felt real fear. That night, when I got home, Sarah looked at me carefully and said, "You look tired. Is everything okay?" I smiled and said yes, but inside, everything felt uncertain. Days turned into weeks. The pressure kept growing. Clients left. Profits dropped. Bills kept coming. I worked harder than ever, but inside my mind, doubt was growing. Then one day, my financial manager, Mr. Johnson, walked into my office with a serious face and said, "Adam, we need to talk." I already knew. The numbers confirmed it. Losses were increasing, and if nothing changed, we would face bankruptcy. That moment felt unreal. I had spent years building this company with pride, and now it was slipping away from my hands. That night, I drove home slowly, thinking about one question that wouldn't leave my mind. What will happen if I lose everything? I tried to fight. I worked longer hours, called old clients, searched for new opportunities. Attended meetings almost every day. But most of the answers I got were polite refusals. The market had changed, and I couldn't keep up. Eventually, I had to face the truth. I gathered my employees in a meeting room. 20 people sitting there, looking at me, waiting for answers. My heart felt heavy. I wanted to tell them everything would be okay. But I couldn't lie. So I told them the truth. Some looked shocked, others just lowered their heads. But no one blamed me. That made it even harder. A few weeks later, the company closed. The trucks were sold. The warehouse was empty. The office that once felt alive became silent. I stood outside the building one evening, looking at the sign with the company's name, knowing it would soon be removed. At that moment, I realized something painful. I had lost everything I once believed was permanent. The next days were the hardest. For years, my life had a routine, a purpose. Now, there was nothing. I felt lost. I kept thinking about my mistakes, wondering what I could have done differently, but those questions had no answers. Then one evening, Sarah held my hand and said something simple, but powerful. Sometimes losing everything means life is asking you to start again, but with more wisdom. Those words stayed with me. Slowly, I started to see things differently. I began to notice moments I had ignored before, quiet dinners, simple conversations, time with my family. One afternoon, Maya came to me with a drawing. It showed a man standing on a hill with the sun rising behind him. I asked her, "Who is that?" She smiled and said, "Someone who had a bad day, but tomorrow will be better." I looked at that drawing for a long time, and in that moment, something changed inside me. I realized I didn't really lose everything. I still had my family. I still had my experience. I still had the chance to start again. Later, I found a new job as a consultant. It wasn't as big or impressive as my old business, but it gave me a new perspective. At the beginning, I was still afraid of failing again. But this time, I moved differently. I listened more. I rushed less. One day, I asked the new company owner how he stayed calm with all the pressure. He smiled and said, "No business is worth losing your peace." That sentence stayed with me. I realized that in my past, I had lost my peace chasing success, and in the end, I lost both. So I started rebuilding myself, not just my career. I spent more time with Sarah. We talked more, laughed more. I became closer to Maya. One day she asked me, "Daddy, why are you home more now?" I smiled and said, "Because I finally understand what matters." Months passed, and life found a new rhythm. One day, I passed by my old company building. It looked different. The sign was gone. I stopped for a moment. But instead of pain, I felt peace. That place was just a chapter, not my whole story. Years later, I understand something important. Success is not just money or business. Because money can disappear. Businesses can fail. Plans can collapse. But courage, experience, and determination, those things stay with you forever. Losing everything didn't destroy me. It changed me. Today, my life is simpler, but richer. I don't have the same business, but I have peace. I have time. I have my family. And most importantly, I have myself. And maybe, that's the real lesson. Sometimes, losing everything is the beginning of finding what truly matters. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any new content.